Taiwan, I'm Eric Gao. Thanks for joining us this afternoon for the news. Taiwan's Mainland Affairs Council has condemned the sentencing of a Taiwanese politician in China to 9 years in jail for secession. Yang Ziyuan was arrested in China in 2022 while on a visit for a board game competition. Tiffany Wong is following this story for us from Taipei. Tiffany, what do we know about Yang and this case?
We know that 34-year-old Yang Ziyuan is from Taichung, and he used to be a member of Taiwan's ruling Democratic Progressive Party, but he left that party and formed his own fringe group called the Taiwan National Party in 2011. That was seen as a pro-independence group. Now, he still made frequent trips to China on business, and as you said, his last visit in 2022 for a board game competition. And then the last we saw of him was CCTV video released of the state security in China apprehending him, detaining him, and questioning him in Zhejiang province. This came just hours after former U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi finished her visit in Taiwan, a visit that many in China condemned, and that state security accused Yang of engaging in separatist activities and even endangering national security. Now, Taiwan's Mainland Affairs Council said that the government here and Yang's family have both condemned that ruling, and it came after a closed trial with none of the evidence was made public. And this is the first time that a Taiwanese person has been sentenced in Beijing ever since they announced a new set of guidelines in June explaining how exactly to punish die-hard Taiwan independent separatists, a list of guidelines that includes the death penalty. And now Taiwan's Mainland Affairs Council is saying that they could use these rules to attack any Taiwanese person next.
Now, meanwhile, Taiwan has also issued a travel warning to its citizens, telling them not to go to China's Xinjiang province. Why is the government here worried about people traveling there?
That's right. Taiwan's Mainland Affairs Council has said they're hearing reports of China trying to attract Taiwanese influencers and businesses to go to Xinjiang and make promotional content. They're calling this whitewashing of Beijing's human rights records. Xinjiang's been under scrutiny for reports of forced labor and cultural repression of the Uyghurs living there. And the Mainland Affairs Council has warned that if Taiwanese people take money from China to make these kind of promotional content, this kind of propaganda, that could go against Taiwan's own anti-infiltration laws. Now, with both of these developments, it looks like Taiwan's trying to take a hardline stance by issuing these warnings against China. They're really trying to take a hard stance against Chinese infiltration by warning Taiwanese people of these possible arbitrary detentions and falling victim to these Chinese influence campaigns.
Thank you for that, Tiffany. That was our reporter Tiffany Wong giving us the latest on Taiwan's warnings about China. Former Taipei Mayor Ko Wen-je, he has lost his appeal and is back in detention as part of an anti-corruption investigation. It's left his Taiwan People's Party in damage control mode. John Van Trieste has the latest.
Just days after his release, former Taipei Mayor Ko Wen-je is handcuffed and led into a police van. As allegations of corruption during his time as mayor hang in the air, prosecutors convinced the court to reverse its decision to let Ko go for the time being. While this second arrest wasn't a total surprise, it has the party Ko founded, the Taiwan People's Party, in emergency mode. The head of the party's caucus had to cut short a radio interview after news broke and party leaders called an urgent meeting. The question at hand is whether Ko helped the owner of a shopping mall get planning permission to massively expand its floor space. Ko says he knew nothing about the matter, but prosecutors think there may have been a corrupt deal involving Ko and other city officials, and that the extra floor space earned the mall's owner around $625 million in illicit extra profits. As Ko's party maintains Ko's innocence, the other two main parties say they'll leave it to the courts to decide.
我们认为此案的关键在于证据，而不是政治。没有人可以操弄司法，民众党也不要来操弄民粹，就让证据说话，大家一起尊重法官的裁定。
面对所有的司法案件，国民党一向秉持着勿往勿纵的态度，强调程序正义、司法公平，希望司法单位能够依据事实证据办案。
But Ke's fate could have big political consequences. This legislature is split 3 ways, with no majority. Though the smallest of the 3, Ke's party, which centers on him, is therefore the decider. This scandal from years ago may just upset the political balance of power for years to come. Andy Xue and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
A former Philippine mayor accused of working with Chinese criminal syndicates has arrived back in Manila after being arrested in Indonesia. Alice Guo requested protection from Filipino authorities, claiming that she has received death threats.
Meron po akong death threats po at humingi po ako ng tulong po sa kanila.
Guo had been on the run since July, accused of protecting online casinos that were a front for scam centers and human trafficking syndicates. The investigation has also led to questions about her background. Guo says that she was born in the Philippines, but authorities have found that her fingerprints match those of a Chinese national. Filipino authorities are urging Guo to cooperate with investigations.
Yung nga ang sinasabi namin kay Alice, huwag kang matakot. Huwag kang matakot. Kung ikaw natatakot sa buhay mo, we will provide you all of the security ng kailangan mo. Importante lang, ituro mo ang mga taong malalaking ito. Lahat ng pangalan ibigay mo para magkaroon ng hustisya na rito at matapos na ito.
North Korea has resumed launching balloons containing trash across the border to South Korea. The South's military says Pyongyang has launched more than 400 balloons since Wednesday, with some landing in areas north of Seoul. This is part of an ongoing propaganda war between the two sides. Back in July, Seoul said that some North Korean balloons contained timer devices to burst them, potentially causing fires. But no materials that pose a safety risk have been found in this most recent wave. Pope Francis has wrapped up his 4-day visit to the Indonesian capital Jakarta by celebrating Mass before a crowd of 80,000 people. During his time in Muslim-majority Indonesia, the head of the Catholic Church also visited the country's largest mosque, and he met with political leaders at the presidential palace. He vowed that the Catholic Church would increase efforts towards interreligious dialogue. Jakarta was the first stop in the Pope's 12-day tour of the Asia-Pacific. He'll also visit Papua New Guinea, East Timor, and Singapore. The rise of electric vehicles in Vietnam is driving the country towards net zero carbon. A big arena to keep this green momentum going is taxis. Vietnam has set an ambitious EV taxi quota for itself. Our reporter Joyce Zhen took a ride in some of them to meet the drivers steering the green transformation.
Vietnam's busy streets with its honking cars and motorcycles are in transition away from petrol cars towards electric vehicles or EVs to cut down on pollution. Now, the government has been doubling down on this green goal, aiming for all new taxis to be electric from 2030 onwards, with the hopes that all cabs in the country will be EVs by 2050.
Ahead of the game is this fleet of bright blue cabs from the country's first electric-only taxi firm, GSM, owned by the same group behind VinFast, Vietnam's EV giant. All of GSM's cabs are VinFast cars, the company that first made global headlines when its stock skyrocketed after being listed in New York's NASDAQ. They've since plunged, and VinFast has been relying on subsidiaries, with 70% of its deliveries going to GSM.
Domestically, GSM is trying to carve its own share of a competitive ride-hailing market that's dominated by the regionally popular Grab platform. Now, users can call for the EV taxi by picking up the phone and dialing, or using this app.
And it's also easier for the cab drivers, like Mr. Mai, to earn with GSM. As with other taxi firms, GSM has a quota he must reach to get his base salary. But Mr. Mai says it's simpler for drivers to hit GSM's quota than those of traditional firms.
Mình linh động nhiều thứ hơn. Mình có thể giải quyết được những chuyện gia đình, thí dụ.
For Mr. Mai, the biggest downside is having to charge the car. On a full battery, he can only take about 15 riders if they're going short distances.
He says normally in a day, he'll need to charge his car twice for 40 minutes each. But because charging ports are still relatively rare in Ho Chi Minh City, sometimes with long lines of EV drivers waiting to charge, he says the wait time can get up to 2 or even 3 hours. Mr. Tuan here has been waiting for 30 minutes just for a free port to charge his car. But this is pretty normal?
Dạ, công việc đợi sạc xe này là rất là bình thường.
VinFast says it has 150,000 of these charging ports across Vietnam, but given how quickly demand for EVs is growing, urban centers like Ho Chi Minh City are going to need more.
That's especially as foreign competitors like China's top EV maker BYD enter Vietnam's market. Right now, VinFast has a monopoly on the infrastructure, and their ports can only charge VinFast cars. This month, the government will consider subsidizing electricity prices for charging stations to keep Vietnam on track with other advanced economies, aiming to be carbon neutral by 2050.
Reaching Vietnam's green goals will take time, especially as the government eyes even larger scale projects like electric buses in the future. But with thousands of these EV taxis already on the street, Vietnam is off to a strong start. Eason Chen, Allison Nguyen, and Joyce Sun in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam for TaiwanPlus.
Be sure to watch our full series from Vietnam on TaiwanPlus.com and on our social media. Taipei has hosted the 2024 ContentAsia Awards, an annual event that celebrates programs and movies made here in Asia. Leslie Liao was at the ceremony.
141 nominees among 27 categories look to take home awards recognizing excellence in Asian entertainment at the ContentAsia Awards here in Taipei. And it's a time for creators from around the continent to celebrate Asian content creation. Taiwan's content creators walked away with 4 silver awards, and it was a promising haul for Taiwan. The country has gained recognition over the years as a content creation contender. Several Taiwanese production companies were in the running for awards, including TaiwanPlus, but it was Taiwan's Hakka TV that had the most nominations going into the ceremony with 4.
Hakka isn't the main, or we say the mainstream language or culture here in Taiwan, but we made a lot of efforts to promote both the culture and our language, because without Hakka, Taiwan wouldn't be the same. So that's we think we may take some kind of opportunities like this to illustrate what makes Taiwan so different.
Ceremony organizers lauded Taiwan's content creation at the awards.
There's a pride in what you create and your own ideas and developing your own ideas. And I think that is a real superpower, and layered on top of freedom of speech and democracy, gender equality.
The ContentAsia Awards have been held annually since 2020. The first editions were held virtually until last year when a physical ceremony debuted in Bangkok. Taipei is the second city to ever host the award ceremony.
Everyone wants to come here. Look how many people came. They used the ContentAsia Summit. They wanted an excuse to come. And now, so they came. Now they've seen it.
With the 5th edition of the awards now over, Taiwan has staked its claim as a content hub in Asia. And with a diverse culture to draw from, the future of Taiwan's entertainment industry has the potential to grow even stronger. Alex Tun and Leslie Liao in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
Thanks for tuning in to What's Up Taiwan. Head on over to the TaiwanPlus website to get more of our reports or follow us on social media. Finally, check out these adorable twin panda cubs in Hong Kong. I'm Eric Gao. Take care, and we'll see you next time.